Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. Today's session is called Career Opportunities in Climate Change, Science and Policy. Before we start, I'd like to just take a moment to recognise the traditional Indigenous lands where EcoCanada's office is based in Calgary. EcoCanada's commitment to reconciliation starts with acknowledging our honour and privilege to live and work within Treaty 7 territory. EcoCanada acknowledges the traditional territories and oral practices of the Niitsitapi, home of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which includes Siksika, Piikani, and Gianni First Nations. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina and Stoney Nakoda, which includes Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. In addition, the City of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta. Today's webinar is all about career opportunities in the climate change field. As we all know, the impacts of climate change are already being observed all across the world, and Canada's diverse geographic regions and habitats are no exemption. Climate change will continue to significantly impact ecosystems, economies, and communities over the coming years. And as a result, climate change and sustainability careers offer a lot of opportunities right now. From fields such as business, energy, engineering, and more, there are lots of different career paths that you can take to make an impact in the climate change sector. Today, we're joined by some of my EcoCanada colleagues and by some of our partners at Royal Roads University to bring you this webinar, which will focus on what the opportunities are in the sector, what employers are looking for, and how you can upgrade your skills and knowledge to help get you started. My name is Hannah Williamson, and I'm going to be moderating today's webinar. I'm the Training and Events Coordinator here at EcoCanada. And before we start, there's just a couple of housekeeping guidelines I just want to run through to make sure that we can all enjoy and participate in the webinar effectively. First of all, please check your audio settings. All our participants are muted, and you should have the function within the webinar software to change where your audio is coming from. If you are having any technical difficulties, please use the chat box and select questions for staff, and we'll do everything we can to resolve your issue quickly. Just a couple of troubleshooting things that I will point out straight away is try and reduce the number of windows that you have open, and that helps direct all of your bandwidth connectivity towards the webinar software. And if you're having big issues with audio or not being able to hear us correctly, try dialing out of the call and dialing back in, and that generally fixes about 99% of all of our issues that we see. Today's presentation is available on demand. It's being recorded and will be sent to you via email within 24 hours. It will also be hosted on the Royal Roads and EcoCanada websites for you to watch on demand as many times as you like. Questions are encouraged, so please again use the chat box and select questions for staff, and we'll have dedicated time after the presentation to put your questions to our guest speakers today. If we run out of time and don't get to your questions, please don't worry, we'll take those away and make sure you get an answer offline. And finally, we really want to know what you think about our webinars. Please, we'll send you a quick survey just after the call ends. If you could just take a couple of minutes and let us know what you thought about today's session, or how we can improve, or future topics that you would like to see from our webinar series moving forward. Now, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to our guest speakers today. As you can see, we're really lucky to have four wonderful, knowledgeable women share their experiences with us today. We have Jenny Peters, who is an economist with a PhD in economics. Jenny now works at EcoCanada in our research team as Labour Market Information Manager. Leslie King. Leslie has dedicated her life to environmental education and inspiring and empowering people to enter and excel in the environmental field. Leslie is a professor in the School of Environment and Sustainability at Royal Roads. We also have Erin Edwards from Royal Roads. Erin joined Royal Roads in 2017, and in her role as manager for the School of Environment and Sustainability, she's responsible for managing all general and academic administration, student support, financial management, human resources, and marketing for the school. And last but not least, we have Elsa Popilian. Elsa is the team leader of marketing and communications here at EcoCanada and has over 10 years experience in the environmental and engineering services. I'd like to welcome all of our guest speakers today. And first of all, I'm going to hand over to Jenny, who's going to take us through what the labour market information looks like for climate change careers. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Hannah. Thanks for the introduction and welcome to everybody who is joining us today. Let me start by giving you a bit of background about EcoCanada for those of you who are new to our organization. EcoCanada is the steward for the environmental workforce across industries, and we champion environmental professionals. from end to end of their career. So from beginning of their career to the end of their career. We provide training and accreditation. We provide certification for professionals. We also address labor market gaps and issues that come up in order to facilitate the growth of the environmental industry. Our efforts are designed to promote the growth, the sustainable growth in Canada, ensuring that environmental care and best practices are a priority. So to start off with, the environmental workforce is a little bit different than the workforce in other sectors. And as a result, we provide a classification of our environmental workforce into two categories. We look at environmental workers who are specifically working for environmental goods and services producers. So firms that are producing environmental goods and services, uh, individuals who are working for government organizations, whether they are local, municipal, federal, or provincial. And as long as those are individuals who are involved in the provision of goods and services in the environmental sector, they're included in the environmental goods and services workforce. We also include workers who may be working in entirely different industries, could be working in the oil and gas industry, could be working in mining or forestry or agriculture. But these are individuals whose specialization is environmental protection and conservation. So individuals who, regardless of the industry they work in, who require environmental specific competencies or training, those are individuals that we consider to be core environmental workers. When EcoCanada takes a look at the environmental workforce and tries to measure who's in the environmental workforce, what's going on in the environmental workforce, we look at it from both of these perspectives. We have reports where we have published information about the environmental goods and services sector specifically. Examples include our energy efficiency study and our clean tech study released over the past couple of years. We also try to capture what's going on with the core environmental workers. So those individuals who are required to have knowledge, skills, and training in the environmental protection and conservation, regardless of what industry they work in. We're going to be producing an outlook report, a labor demand outlook report over the next couple of months. And I wanted to give you a kind of a teaser to what we're going to be producing in that report, what we're going to be publishing. Some very interesting findings about the labor force in the environmental sector. First of all, we found that the proportion of workers who are considered to be part of the environmental workforce has been increasing over time. So that includes those who are both core environmental workers and those who are working for environmental goods and services organizations. Overall, we noticed that environmental workers are employed all across Canada. But it's interesting to find out that the proportion of workers who are engaged in environmental work is highest within the Canadian territories. This probably reflects the fact that the environmental protection and conservation is an important element of the industrial and economic growth activities in those regions. We also note that nearly 90% of all of the occupations that people are employed in across Canada involve some degree of environmental work. Some of them require environmental work as the predominant element of the job. Others have aspects of the job which require environmental knowledge, skills, or competencies, or which are for environmental organizations. We also note that environmental workers come from a wide variety of backgrounds and educational programs. There's no one specific pathway to becoming an environmental worker. People come from scientific backgrounds, from policy backgrounds, from humanities backgrounds, all across the spectrum of different types of education and different types of experience. And lastly, we've discovered that the majority of job openings that are going to be available over the next 10 years for environmental workers are going to be the result of people leaving the labor force, particularly for retirement. What this means is that there are going to be a lot of openings for senior, mid to senior level positions. And as we want to encourage the new graduates and new entrants into the marketplace to develop their skill sets, we want to recognize that there are opportunities for basically fast promotion if the right skills are developed and available for their employers. We have the opportunity at Eco Canada to evaluate job postings for various different types of environmental jobs. And we took a look at specifically climate change related positions to determine what sort of knowledge, skills, and training are needed for participating in that particular activity. We found 5 broad categories of types of competencies that are required for individuals who are participating in climate change activities. First, policy and governance. So in this particular category, we note that the knowledge of environmental legislation, standards, and agreements is an essential element of working in that field. A broad understanding of the Canadian environmental sector and sustainability issues is required, and employers are looking for people who have a good understanding of the relationship between human activities and the natural environment. In the risk and mitigation aspect of climate change activity, we know that employers are looking for those who can implement sustainable development strategies, develop strategic partnerships and relationships with key stakeholders, regardless of where those stakeholders are coming from, and those who are able to implement greenhouse gas mitigation and adaptation strategies. Communication and public awareness is another area where there are lots of opportunities for individuals who are concerned about and want to alleviate or mitigate climate change impacts. Broadly speaking, those who are able to help increase public awareness of environmental and sustainability issues, those who are able to develop well-researched strategic proposals to support sustainability programs, so putting together grant proposals, for example, or those who prepare environmental performance reports are all in high demand in the climate change area. 2 last areas where we find employers seeking workers are in those areas for socioeconomic impact assessment. In this case, we're looking at employees who can assess what is feasible in terms of climate change mitigation and adaptation products and technologies. People who are able to assess what the environmental implications are of consumer behavior, whether they're going to be beneficial to the climate change setting or whether they're going to be detrimental. And those who are able to assess the cost-benefit implications of different changes that are required to conform with new standards or guidelines. Lastly, those who are able to address air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions issues are also in high demand. In this particular context, those who are able to develop greenhouse gas emissions inventories or trading systems, which are compatible with the new regulations that are being put in place, those who are able to develop energy efficiency or greenhouse gas emissions climate change reports, and those who are able to develop systems to track air quality for the purpose of evaluating and reporting emissions. I'm going to pass it over to Elsa now to take a closer look at what employers are looking for.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing such great research and insights about the labor demand outlook and some of the competencies that are related to working in climate change roles. Our research group also surveyed environmental employers and stakeholders to see what the top skills are that they need and what they look for when hiring. The list on the screen shows the results for the top 5 technical skills employers need. What these results really show us is the demand for knowledge of climate change, policy, and legislation and sustainability, as well as other skills. Coming in at 41%, climate change made the top 5. Interestingly, demand actually increases with years of experience. So it's a skill that we know is really sought after, especially as your career advances. Number 1 in-demand skill is policy and legislation. And climate-related policies have really taken the front seat in the last few years, and they're expected to become more and more stringent going forward. Given that industry knowledge is in second place, employers have spoken loud and clear about the need for staff to stay up to date with what's happening in their industry and how legislation can impact their line of business. In addition to the top technical skills, employers let us know the most important interpersonal skills that they look for. Skills like problem solving, leadership, and communication are all complementary to having that technical knowledge. It will take people who have these skills to solve climate issues, to communicate climate issues, and to make the decisions that drive these issues forward. I wanted to share these findings with you today because it's a great insight no matter where you are in your career. Whether you're looking to transition into environmental work, or you're new to this area, or if you already work in an environmental role, it emphasizes the importance of keeping your skills up to date. Something we really promote here at Eco-Canada is taking ownership of your career path. So if this is where your passion is, these are areas you can focus on for your own professional development and growth. We've chatted a little bit about the technical and soft skills that are needed for a successful career in this field, and Jenny mentioned some of the competencies. The competencies are defined within the National Occupational Standards for Environmental Employment, or NOS, and they fall into specialized areas within the environmental sector. Environment work generally falls into 3 key areas of practice. As we can see on screen, those are environmental protection, resource management, and environmental sustainability. At the heart of this is the role of the environmental manager, who needs to have knowledge of each of the 3 practice areas. And this is also a role that touches on both the science and the policy side of climate change and other environmental work areas. Within each area, there are specializations, of which 14 have been defined with their own set of competencies required for that work. And one of the ways that Eco-Canada supports career development is by offering a professional designation. EP, or Environmental Professional, is a community of over 3,000 people across Canada and some that practice internationally too. There are 3 levels of membership depending on experience, and members have their competencies validated against the NOS. When becoming a member, they select from the 14 specializations defined within the NOS based on their area of practice and their experience. I'm going to highlight a few of the EP specializations that relate directly to climate change. You can see there's policy and legislation, sustainability, research and development, air quality, water quality, as well as many others. The EP community is made up of people working across a range of industries in every practice area of environmental work. This includes members who work in jobs directly related to climate change. We've pulled a few of the job titles of our EP members just to give you a little sampling of some of the roles that are available in this area. You can see there's climate change analyst, sustainability advisor, air quality and climate change specialist, and manager of climate change programs. Next slide, please, Hannah. Thank you. Just a few years ago, job postings related to climate change were pretty few and far between. The list you see here is a snapshot of some recent postings, some of which are still active. I wanted to highlight a few of them to give you an idea of the type of work that's currently out there. If we look about halfway down the list, there's a posting for research associate. This particular job is with an East Coast university, and the key responsibilities include developing ocean modeling simulations representing future climate projections. This is a great example for those of you that are interested in more scientific climate change work. One of the other roles I wanted to highlight was climate risk analyst. This one was for a consulting company, and it includes duties such as leading and providing support in assessments of vulnerabilities of infrastructure, facilities, and buildings to climate change, and conducting detailed risk assessments. Another role that's kind of related to that is the climate risk management student. Preference for this would be given to a student with a concentration in climate change studies that has a background of research in climate risk assessments related to adaptation, and someone that can conduct analysis of facility risks from future climate issues. So it's similar to the climate risk analyst position, but at a more junior level. The last job I wanted to highlight here is the climate and energy manager. This role was with a municipality out on the West Coast and is at a more senior level. The person who would fill this position would be working on projects like a community climate action strategy. So it falls more into the policy side of careers. We've talked a little bit about the skills you need, what employers are looking for, and the types of jobs that are out there for the taking. I'm going to pass the torch to our colleagues and partners from Royal Roads University, who can share their expertise on how you can gain the knowledge and skills required and set yourself up for a successful career in this field.
Thank you so much, Elsa. This is Erin speaking. I am the school manager for the School of Environment at Royal Roads University. And I just wanted to describe the Canadian Centre for Environmental Education. This is a centre that describes the partnership between EcoCanada and Royal Roads University. And through this partnership, we aim to provide advanced education, training, and professional development opportunities. And it's through this platform that we use to create and adapt our programs that we offer through the university to be able to respond to the changing environmental career landscape. And it really will allow us to align our outcomes of our program with the needs of the industry so that our students who graduate are ready to thrive within a variety of roles within this sector. Currently, we have 3 programs that are developed through this partnership, which we will go through in a little bit more detail following. And before diving into too much information about Royal Roads, I would just like to acknowledge that the university resides on the traditional territories of the Cossepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families. And we are grateful to live, learn, and work on these beautiful lands. Even though we are currently not working from the university and we're all working from home, I truly can't wait to return back to this beautiful space. And Royal Roads University is a public university that's located in Victoria, BC on Vancouver Island. And it's been a university since 1995 and was previously known as the Royal Roads Military College, which a lot of people can identify with. The grounds that the university sit upon are known as Hatley Park Historic Site. And at the university, we strive to offer a variety of applied and interdisciplinary undergraduate and graduate programs that really are designed to fit a variety of students' lifestyles. And you can see this through the different delivery models that we have at the university. We have some programs that are delivered on campus in an accelerated model. We have some that are delivered in a blended format where our students can continue to work, doing most of their program online and coming to the university for short residencies. And we also have completely online programs, which describe all of the programs that are delivered through this partnership. At Royal Roads the average age of the students that we have at our university are usually within their mid-level professional career. So they're within their mid-30s, which leads us to say that Royal Road students end up learning more, or learning just as much from their professors as they do from one another. And the skills that you learn are taken back into the workplace to be used in a really tangible, meaningful way. This is a list of the 3 different programs that we offer through the partnership. And I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Leslie King to describe these programs in a little bit greater detail.
Thank you very much, Erin. And thanks so much to EcoCanada and all the presenters for hosting this so important webinar. And thank you to all of you who are attending, and thank you for joining us. The fact that we have so many people online and registered gives me real hope for the environmental field and for climate change. The programs that you see on the screen, I'll talk a little bit more about in the next few minutes, but there's a link at the bottom of the page. So if you would like to visit the web pages for the School of Environment and Sustainability on which these programs are featured, just hit that link. Thank you. So I am so excited to introduce our newest offering. I'm the director of the partnership, the Canadian Centre for Environmental Education, and I've been working on this for some time, and I'm very excited that this is now a reality, a graduate certificate in the science and policy of climate change. And all of those competencies, knowledge, skills that Jenny and Elsa talked about are really included in the graduate certificate and in the environmental practice programs. But I'll talk first about this graduate certificate. It's a 9-credit or 3-course certificate program offered in partnership with EcoCanada. It's entirely online, and I like to think that this is one of the most efficient ways that you can increase your skills in the climate field if you're already a climate professional, or enter the field, this burgeoning, exciting field. And this is a very efficient way of preparing you for that field. It can be taken as a standalone certificate. So you just come and take the 3, you don't come to the campus, it's online, but you take the 3 courses, and at the end of that, you get the graduate certificate in Science and Policy of Climate Change. Or you can take it as part of the Masters in Environmental Practice that I'll talk about in a minute. The courses are also available as electives in other graduate programs at Royal Roads, and I keep getting people in other programs such as the MBA and the Global Management course, the Tourism course, coming and saying, can we use your courses in our programs? Because I think it's turning out to be extremely popular. The program launches in January next year, 2021, and the first course is offered at that time. The first course is 614, The Science and Impacts of Climate Change. This is a foundational, introductory, interdisciplinary course about the nature, causes, and impacts of climate change. I think this course is critical for anyone working in the climate field. And I should say that through continuing education, these courses can be taken, the first 2 courses can be taken as part of general studies. You don't need to take the full certificate, although I would certainly encourage you to do that. The next course is called Climate Policy. The next course is called Climate Policy and Governance. I'm going to ignore this. The next course is called Climate Policy. Hannah, are we okay? The 615 is climate policy and governance, and this looks at existing policy instruments and governance institutions designed to address climate change, both adaptation and mitigation, now and in the future. It includes climate policy and governance from the local to the global levels. So the COP process of the United Nations. I've attended many of the conferences of the parties, including the latest Paris Agreement conference, as well as local, regional, and national policies in Canada elsewhere. It will also include the human dimensions of such policies and governance, such as gender, equity, human and Indigenous rights, communication, and others. And I'd like to say that these courses are designed to prepare students as climate professionals for current job market offerings, but also, and probably more important, for future job and labor market opportunities, because this is a rapidly changing field. And of course, Eco-Canada has their fingers on the pulse of those changes, and we're delighted to be in partnership with them. I'm very excited about the third course in the climate certificate, and that course is called Climate Solutions. This is an experiential course in which students in the course work with their own or other organizations addressing climate change. This is the transdisciplinary part of the course because it promotes working with and incorporating other ways of knowing and non-academic organizations. So the students will organize placements with First Nations, government at any level, business, industry, and civil society or NGOs. They'll work with a supervisor, but the students will also work collaboratively to help their classmates with their placement, because this is really designed to help organizations, to help students wrest meaning from the experience of working with those organizations, but also to add value to those organizations and increase their capacity for dealing with climate change. Next slide, please.
There's just a slight delay. There we go.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so that's basically the graduate certificate. It's designed to promote leadership, to create leaders and climate professionals. And if you are already a climate professional, I think this gives you the important knowledge and skills that you need to advance your career. And if you're just coming into the field, these courses will give you the knowledge that you need about climate change. Now, the graduate certificate will also be embedded into the Master in Environmental Practice, and that's both the MA and the MSc, the Master of Arts and the Master of Science. This program, these programs, I should say, are fully online, and they provide flexible graduate education for highly skilled environmental professionals. These programs are really flexible in many ways. For one thing, they're flexible in terms of timing. They can be completed at your own pace, and we've had graduates complete in under 2 years, but students do have a full 7 years to complete the program. So for people who are working professionals, we try to accommodate your schedules. And that means that you can do this rapidly, especially if, say, you're not working at the moment. You can complete very rapidly, taking up to 3 courses a session, or you can spread it out, taking only 1 or 2 courses a year, if you like. It also fulfills the educational requirement for the EP certification, which has already been spoken about. And as I said, the graduate certificate in Science and Policy of Climate Change can be taken as part of the MEP program. The credits will be credited towards the master's, and the students can receive both credentials. So they can receive the certificate and the master's degree. So that's the the MEP, and because of our partnership with EcoCanada, this keeps the programs relevant, practical, and useful. The course is also very flexible in terms of your focus, so you can tailor this program to your interests, and you can do that through the final research paper or practicum, and you can do that through the kinds of assignments that you do in the courses. We also have the capacity to take 3 courses at the University of Denver, who have a wonderful online program in environmental management, and the MEP students can take 3 of their courses. Then we've got the BEP, also a BA and a BSc in environmental practice, also fully online. This is a degree completion program. It's a part-time program, again, very flexible. If you have more than 2 years undergraduate education, or for that matter, a full degree, you can receive up to 15 credits at the 3rd year level when you enter the program. So it's a great way of finishing up a degree in the environmental field. It also aligns with EcoCanada's National Occupational Standards for the environmental sector and prepares students for that professional certification, either the environmental professional or the environmental professional in training. And for this course, I love this aspect of the course. Students can take designated courses from universities across Canada, as well as at Royal Roads. So those are the 3 programs, actually the 5 programs, if you count the separate Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Master of Arts, Master of Science, and the graduate certificate. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Royal Roads University is incredibly fortunate during the pandemic, because we have a great experience and skill in offering online programs and courses. We don't just offer online courses that are like correspondence courses. We have a whole department that's dedicated to ensuring that all our courses meaningfully engage students. The courses start and end on a particular day. Students get to know each other and their professors and are engaged in activities and assignments with each other and individuals. So Royal Roads has proven to be a leader in online education, and these programs really take advantage of what we've learned about online education. Also, professors in these programs are all scholar practitioners, meaning that they are professionals working in the field and can share that with their students. There are, of course, also scholars with PhDs. And as I said, this is a very highly relevant curriculum, which really meets the learning model of Royal Roads, which is to have very practical, hands-on education. And if you need more information, we've put my email address and the other enrollment team address in the chat box. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you're interested in any of these programs. And we also have admissions advisors who are wonderful, who will guide you through the application and admissions process. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you to all of our speakers today. Such great insights into where the sector is and where the opportunities are, and to the wonderful programs that Royal Roads offers. We now have some time for questions, so if you haven't already submitted your question, please use the chat box and select questions for staff. We still have time, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague Vanessa Morgan, who's going to take us through those questions from the audience. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you. The first question we have here are, what are the impacts on these findings of the COVID-19 impacts on the labor and financial markets?
A question for Jenny, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's an excellent question. the impact is varied on the environmental sector. Fortunately, unlike other sectors such as tourism or retail, the environmental sector is to some extent deemed to be an essential service. And so many of the activities that environmental workers are undertaking continue to be undertaken during the COVID-19 pandemic. We do note that there is a slowdown in certain projects, projects that have been put on furlough, projects that have been delayed simply because the organizations that are proposed or have forwarded those particular projects may be struggling in terms of their own business strategies. Moreover, we have at EcoCanada taken a broad interest in that particular question by introducing an HR Human Resources Pulse survey, which you or anyone you know is able to participate in as well. The survey results for April are going to be released very shortly, and they reveal, as I mentioned a moment ago, that there is a varied impact on environmental employment and environmental opportunities. There are certainly no impacts on the opportunity to enroll in a program like Royal Roads University. The online program is very conducive to the type of environment that we're in right now, fortunately for us.
Yes, I'd like to add to that. Thank you, Jenny. That was a great answer. It also is a great time to go back to school, especially in an online program, if not only in an online program. But all of you can answer that for us too. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to go back to school.
Awesome, thank you. Next question we have here are, how are some of the ways newcomers can gain Canadian industry knowledge and knowledge on policy and regulations?
Great question. Who wants to have a go at that one?
I think that's also a Jenny question.
Well, certainly I can address that. That's no problem at all. Well, one way you can do that is by becoming involved in EcoCanada's programs. We have training programs such as online courses, which provide overviews of the policy and legislation realm in the environmental sector in Canada. We have also training programs to provide some of the softer skills for environmental professionals who are new to the marketplace, technical writing skills, project management skills, and so forth. And we also provide opportunities for networking. Although the networking is a little bit off the plate right now because of the COVID-19, we can't get together with meetups and networking events like we would like to. We do try to maintain connections amongst environmental professionals, and the best way to become an environmental professional or move into the industry is to get to know other environmental professionals and find out what their experience is and take advantage of their learnings and their knowledge. In addition, of course, you've got the opportunity to take courses like Royal Roads programs, which can upskill you into the Canadian environmental sector, recognizing that the Royal Roads stamp of approval is well acknowledged, well established across Canada.
Thanks, Jenny.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenny.
Just add there, as a newcomer to Canada myself, the networking element that Jenny mentioned is so important, to talk to the people in the sector and understand what it's like. And we are trying at EcoCanada with some virtual networking opportunities too. We hosted a virtual meetup last night with professionals in BC. It's different. It's a different platform to doing it face to face, but there are still opportunities out there to connect with people working in the sector right now. So I would just reiterate that from Jenny's advice.
Thank you, Hannah. The next question we have here is, could someone feasibly have a full-time job and do the graduate certificate in science and policy of climate change?
Yes, absolutely. That is who it's designed for. These programs are all designed for working professionals. And so you take one course at a time in the graduate certificate, the first one in January, the next one in April, and the final one starts in June and expands over 2 semesters to help people who are working in the field and cannot devote full time or come to campus. So that's the whole purpose of them. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Leslie.
And
The next
Leslie, I'll just add on to that if I could
Sure.
as well. Just reiterating that beyond it just being an online program, it really is designed for the working professional. And within that too, your students that you'll be working with will also be working. So there's a lot to be gained, a lot of information to be gained through that, a lot of networking and connection that happens within the program that can help you even move forward within your current career path.
Thank you, Erin. And I'd also like to add that you don't have to take those 3 courses sequentially. One of the beauties of the certificate is that you can complete it in less than a year, but you can also take 1 course now and then wait a year and take the next course the next year, etc. if your work is just too demanding to enable you to take all 3 courses within the year.
Thank you. Next question we have here is, what is the cost of this particular certificate? And can someone from outside of Canada take it and gain certification?
Yes. Yes to the second part. The first part is a little trickier. We don't set our registration costs until the beginning of that year. But the current cost for a certificate is around $6,900. Erin, correct me if I'm wrong. So it won't be too different for that. From that. Also, if you take the courses one at a time, say from general studies, you only pay for the course that you're taking at that time. So it would be considerably less.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for the SPCC 614 to 616. Are there any prerequisites?
You do have to have an undergraduate degree. Other than that, the 616 has a prerequisite of the first 2 courses. I don't want to set people loose on organizations unless they know what they're talking about.
Next question.
Just following up on the last question, the current tuition for the graduate certificate is set at $6,500 currently.
Thank you very much, Erin. I never know those details. Thank you.
Next question we have here is there any opportunity for financial support to take these programs, preferably not loans?
Very good question. When we do these webinars, and you will find that Royal Roads does webinars also on all of these programs. And if you go onto the Royal Roads website, at the right-hand side are the list of webinars that are being conducted currently. I'm sorry, I've lost the question.
I think it was about financial support
yes.
available.
Right. And that's why I'm on about the on about the webinars, because we always talk about that in the webinars. And I see that Christy has put up the financial aid website and yeah, just the website. But a financial aid is a critical part of doing these graduate programs. And, you know, as we always say in the webinars, there are often financial aid opportunities, scholarships that go begging because nobody has applied to them. So by all means, if you're considering this program, go onto that website, talk to the people in financial aid and see what might be available to you.
And we will also be sure to include a link to our financial aid advisors within the follow-up email that you will receive from this, so that it'll be an easy connection for you to make. And there are definitely a lot of opportunities, as Leslie said, that go beyond just loans.
Okay, thank you. The next question we have is, if you are already a climate professional, could one not argue that the graduate certificate would be redundant? What is the argument for this course being relevant to climate professionals? Would you ensure that this material is not totally repetitive?
Yeah, That's a very good question. And I'm designing the courses, and I've already hired people to do the development of the courses so that they are targeted at environmental and climate professionals. This sometimes will cause a problem in the courses because we don't want to dumb them down to people who know nothing about climate change. So there will be lots of opportunities in all 3 courses, basically to go at your own pace, to study issues and to write about issues that you might be curious about within the field. And as you know, you can keep going on these issues forever because nobody ever knows everything about climate change. So I have actually tried to target the courses to climate professionals, as well as to people who are trying to get into the field. So for instance, in the first course, we use cutting edge resources from Nature and Science articles, etc. So, you know, you really will be doing up-to-date cutting edge work on the field, which means that some complete beginners might be scrambling to keep up, but the professors will never leave anyone behind. So, you know, the challenge of creating these courses is to focus on professionals, but also to make room for people who are trying to move into the field.
I think I just want to interject here, Leslie. Thank you for that answer.
Yep.
I've just moved to the slide. I think we've got time for a few more questions, but I just wanted to share with people before, in case people had to dial off, that there is a program guide for the climate change certificate, which you can download with lots of more information. And if our speakers are all okay, maybe to take another 2 or 3 questions. I know we've gone a little over time, but if you're still good to answer questions, no, it's absolutely fine. We have we're getting lots of questions coming in. So if we've got time for maybe a couple more, that would be amazing. And then we'll take all of the questions we didn't have time for today and make sure they get to Leslie and Erin, and we get you some answers after the call.
Thanks, Hannah. I also wanted to add to this that a certificate is a credential, and credentials always work. Even if you're working in the field now, if you have the credential, it adds that stamp of legitimacy and academic approval to your CV.
Perfect.
Next question we have here is, what skills/knowledge would be a good complement to an architecture degree? What environmental jobs would require this knowledge?
Wow, I love that question. That's great. The environmental field is populated by architects for good reason. They have a design mentality, which is great at solving environmental problems and climate problems. Plus, they understand the connection to the built environment and how important that is for the environment and particularly for climate change. We have a huge job in the coming years to retrofit our physical plant. This is going to be an enormous task, and architects will be very much in demand for that job. I'm sorry, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Another question here is, do you have any specific advice for individuals who are trying to move a career in private law, practice to policy, ideally climate change policy?
Sorry, was that in law? I just didn't hear the question.
Law, practice to policy, ideally climate change policy.
Yeah. Okay, well, lawyers are very, very well placed to move into the policy and governance field. You already know what legislation is all about, how you can find out about it, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, common law is very critical to these fields. So I think this is an easy step for someone in law to move into the policy and governance field.
Elsa here. I just wanted to add to that too, that I actually took a course through Royal Roads a few years back on environmental law, and it was fascinating. And
Great,
I'm sure since then there have been so many developments that it's certainly an area that we have at EcoCanada acknowledge in terms of policy and legislation being one of the environmental specializations that we've developed. So there's definitely opportunities there to transition into a career that's more focused on environmental law.
Yeah, exactly. And the second course in the certificate will incorporate legislation, laws, law development in the field.
Some final question here is, this question is about the graduate certificate program. Leslie, you mentioned that there's a placement opportunity through this program. What kind of support do the students receive in organizing these placements and finding placement opportunities?
Okay, that's a great question, because generally it's the responsibility of the student to find that placement, and often that placement will be in their current place of work. However, for people who are not working and who have not developed a good network, this can be a daunting task. We have a work integrated learning department at Royal Roads, and they help people with this kind of issue of finding organizations. Also, I'm going to be teaching that course, and I have a lot of experience across a broad range of organizations. And also, I am going to incorporate something that hasn't been done before. I'm going to engage all the instructors of the first two courses as advisors to the students in that third course. So I think there will be lots of opportunity to get help in creating that placement.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. I'm going to pass it back to Hannah now.
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you to all of our guest speakers just once again for your insights today. I know we have lots of questions we didn't have time for, and we will make sure we send those on to the relevant person and get you an answer afterwards. It's just been so great to hear all about Royal Roads programs today and about where the opportunities lie in this sector of climate change science and policy. I hope that I want to thank everybody on the line. We've had over 200 people join the live session today, and the software made it through. We didn't have any major technical issues, so I want to thank you all for joining us. It's been wonderful to connect with the environmental community and people all across Canada today. Just another plug, if you want to download the program guide, there's a link there and we will send all this information out in a follow-up email too. You can also visit the Royal Roads website or EcoCanada's website for lots more information. And if you're interested in more webinars by EcoCanada, you can visit our website, which is www.eco.ca, and find information about all the programs and services that we offer. And if you have any questions about today's webinar, please do reach out to me. My email is events@eco.ca. I love to speak to people afterwards. Thank you once again to everybody for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful Thursday.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.